If you act as if God Himself is within you, everything shifts in your favor. You've been bargaining with fear, letting it lease space in your mind while pretending it protects you. Walk as if the infinite is your ally, and the bluff collapses, the shadow has no substance when you carry the Sunday. Every titan I've studied, from prophets in deserts to builders of empires, moved with this inner royalty, and the world yielded. Stand up now, breathe the name, take the next bold step, and watch obstacles part like seas before the one who refuses to kneel. Listen, truly listen, because if you miss what I am about to reveal, you may walk through the remainder of your life as a beggar when you were born to command. The difference between the man who bends fear to his will and the man who is bent by it is not talent. It is not luck. It is not even courage as the world defines it. It is something older, something simpler, something you have had within you all along, but no one ever taught you how to wield. It is the way you think when you rise. It is the way you move when fear whispers. It is the way you act when nothing is certain, but you decide anyway. The world does not hand you freedom. You claim it by walking as if you already possess it. You walk as if God Himself walks beside you. And when you do, fear does not argue. Fear does not negotiate. Fear breaks. Let me tell you the myth they taught you. They told you to wait until you felt ready. They told you to wait until the fear faded. They told you to gather more knowledge, more credentials, more proof before you stepped forward. And so you waited. And while you waited, the man who did not wait took the ground. He took the prize. He took the future you were measuring in your mind. The myth is this: courage comes first, and then you act. But that is backwards. That is the lie that keeps men poor, small, and silent. The truth, the law, the unbreakable principle is this: you act first, and courage follows. You decide, and strength appears. You move, and the world adjusts. You do not ask fear for permission. You issue the command, and fear obeys. This is not poetry. This is law. And the man who walks in obedience to this law governs his days. The man who ignores it serves other men's visions until death. Now, I will not waste your time with inspiration that fades by morning. I will not tell you that you can do anything you dream if you simply believe hard enough. That is noise. That is distraction. What I will give you is structure. I will give you law. I will give you the spiritual mechanics by which fear is dismantled, courage is manufactured, and authority over your own life is reclaimed. You will learn that purpose defined is the first sword against hesitation. You will see that decision, true decision, the kind that burns bridges behind you, is the fire that melts the chains. You will understand that your voice, spoken aloud with rhythm and conviction, rewires the chemistry of your mind. You will discover that silence practiced daily is not weakness, but the sharpening stone of clarity. You will know that habit and rhythm, not motivation, build the fortress of discipline. And you will see that serving others with real value and gathering the right allies multiplies your capacity beyond what effort alone ever could. These are not steps. These are movements. And by the end of this hour, you will have both the map and the ritual, the law and the measurement, the vision and the very next action you must take in the next 24 hours. So steel your mind. Do not drift. Do not skip ahead. Do not pause to argue with what you hear. Hear every word. Let it settle. Let it instruct not just your ears, but your spirit. Because the laws I am about to lay before you have been obeyed by every man who ever rose from nothing. They were obeyed by Carnegie when he chose steel over doubt. They were obeyed by Ford when he demanded the impossible from men who said it could not be done. They were obeyed by Edison when he repeated his hypothesis 10,000 times until the world had no choice but to light up. These laws do not care about your background. They do not ask about your education. They do not wait for your confidence. They respond only to obedience. And obedience begins with one act: walking as if it is already so, acting as if fear has no claim, moving as if the outcome is certain. This is not pretending. This is programming. This is how a man builds himself into the version of himself that commands. Let me ask you a question now, and answer it honestly, in the silence of your own mind. When you woke this morning, did you rise with direction, or did you drift into the noise of the world? Did you speak a command to yourself, or did you immediately check a machine and let other voices flood your thoughts? Did you stand before your reflection and declare who you are becoming, or did you avoid your own eyes and shuffle into the day as if it did not matter? Because it does matter. Every morning is a choice. Every thought is a seed. Every word you speak to yourself is an instruction to the unseen builder within you, the subconscious mind that accepts what you give it and begins to shape your world accordingly. If you give it doubt, it builds doubt. If you give it clarity, it builds clarity. If you give it fear, it builds fear. But if you give it purpose, decision, and law, it builds a life that does not bend. Now let us move into the first law. Let us speak of what fear truly is and what destroys it. Fear is not a thing. It is not an enemy. It is not a force that descends upon you from the outside. Fear is the absence of direction. It is the fog that gathers when a man does not know where he is going or why he is moving. A man without a definite chief aim, a man without a clear and burning purpose, is a man at the mercy of every passing wind. He is tossed by opinion. He is shaken by criticism. He is paralyzed by the questions of others. He waits for signs. He waits for permission. He waits for the fear to leave, and it never does. But the man who possesses a definite purpose, written, clear, spoken aloud every morning and every night, is a man who walks through fear as if it were mist, because to him it is. He does not negotiate with it. He does not pause to consider it. He has already decided where he is going, and nothing, not doubt, not delay, not the voices of smaller men, will turn him aside. Let me tell you about Andrew Carnegie. He was not born into wealth. He was not handed an empire. He was born poor, the son of a weaver, in a small town in Scotland. He came to America with nothing but the decision that he would not remain nothing. And what did he choose? He chose steel. Not because it was easy, not because it was popular, not because others approved. He chose it because he saw clearly that steel was the future and he would be the man to command it. And from that moment forward, every action, every alliance, every risk he took was in service of that single aim. He did not scatter his energy. He did not chase 10 visions at once. He fixed his mind on one target, and the world, sensing his certainty, began to yield. Capital followed, men followed, opportunity followed. Not because Carnegie was lucky, but because clarity commands and confusion repels. The man with purpose does not beg for resources. Resources find him because he is a magnet of directed thought. So I say to you now, if you would break fear, you must first break the habit of vagueness. You must no longer walk through your days saying, I want to be successful, I want to be free, I want to be wealthy. Those are not aims, those are wishes. And wishes do not command the subconscious. They do not stir the machinery of the mind. They do not generate the energy required to move mountains. What commands the subconscious is this: a definite chief aim, written in one clear sentence, stating exactly what you intend to achieve, by what date, and what you will give in return. It must be specific. It must be timed. It must be backed by a plan, even if the plan is incomplete. And it must be spoken aloud, with emotion, with conviction, every single morning upon waking, and every single night before sleep. This is not ritual for the sake of ceremony. This is instruction. This is how you program the unseen builder within you. This is how you plant the seed that will grow into the life you command. Write it now. Do not delay. Do not say you will do it later. Later is the graveyard of intention. Write your definite chief aim in one sentence. Make it bold. Make it clear. Make it timed. And then speak it aloud. Hear your own voice declare it. Feel the weight of it in your chest. Let your subconscious hear the command, and then speak it again tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that. Repetition is not weakness. Repetition is the hammer that drives the nail into the wood of your mind. The more you speak it, the more your mind accepts it. The more your mind accepts it, the more your actions align. The more your actions align, the more the world responds. This is law. This is how fear is dismantled from the inside out. Now let me give you the words to carry. Let me give you the affirmations that will serve as your armor. Speak these aloud not once, but until they sound like truth. I command wealth by wisdom. I do not wait for freedom. I build it now. I govern my attention, my speech, my calendar. Fear observes me work and seeds ground. These are not empty words. These are commands. These are declarations of identity. And the man who speaks them with regularity becomes them, not because he pretends, but because the subconscious cannot distinguish between rehearsal and reality. It hears the command and begins to execute. But purpose alone, though essential, is not enough. Purpose without decision is merely a dream written in ink that fades. And so we must move to the second law. We must speak of decision and the decision, burning of bridges. Decision is the act that separates the man who will achieve from the man who will not. Decision is the moment when the maybe dies and the certainty is born. Most men live in the land of maybe. They say, maybe I will start that business. Maybe I will leave that job. Maybe I will write that book. Maybe I will speak that truth. And because they never decide, they never begin. And because they never begin, they never finish. And because they never finish, they die with their music still inside them. But the man who decides, truly decides, cuts off every retreat. He burns the bridge behind him. He makes the future the only option. And in that moment, energy is released. The mind, once divided, becomes unified. The will, once scattered, becomes focused. And the man begins to move with a force he did not know he possessed. Henry Ford understood this law. When he conceived the idea of the V8 engine, his engineers told him it was impossible. They brought him reports. They brought him calculations. They brought him proof that it could not be done. And Ford listened. And then he said, build it anyway. Not maybe. Not if we can. Not let us try. Build it. That was decision. That was the burning of the bridge. There was no retreat. There was no fallback plan. There was only forward. And because Ford decided without reservation, his mind began to work in ways it had not worked before. Ideas emerged. Solutions appeared. The impossible became inevitable, not because the laws of physics changed, but because the law of decision had been obeyed. And the subconscious, sensing the finality of the command, mobilized every resource within its reach. So I ask you now, what bridge must you burn today? What maybe must you kill? What option that keeps you comfortable must you cut away so that the only path is forward? Because until you decide, until you truly commit, you are still negotiating with fear. And fear is a master negotiator. It will offer you comfort. It will offer you safety. It will offer you the illusion of more time. And if you accept those offers, you will wake 10 years from now in the same place, only older, only more tired, only more bitter. But if you refuse, if you decide today that the path is singular and the outcome is certain, then you will begin to move with a momentum that no obstacle can stop. Decision is not the end of the process. It is the beginning. But it is the beginning that most men never reach because they are afraid to let go of the maybe. Let me give you the practice. Today, before the sun sets, you will choose one option that has kept you comfortable and you will eliminate it. You will cancel one subscription that distracts. You will decline one invitation that drains. You will close one door that leads nowhere. And you will do it not out of anger, but out of clarity. You will do it because you have decided that your time, your energy, your focus are too valuable to spend on anything that does not serve your definite chief aim. And then you will speak aloud this declaration. Each day I act in obedience. Each day I prove who I am. Act as if it is done, not as if it might be done, not as if you hope it will be done, as if it is already done. as if the outcome is already secured and you are simply walking through the motions that bring it into the visible world. This is not fantasy. This is faith made operational. This is how you train the subconscious to reject doubt and accept inevitability. And now, with purpose defined and decision made, we turn to the third law. We turn to the power of your voice and the principle of autosuggestion. Your voice is the steering wheel of your mind. What you speak, you become. What you repeat, you reinforce. What you declare with emotion and regularity becomes the instruction by which your subconscious shapes your world. Most men do not understand this. They speak carelessly. They repeat complaints. They echo the fears of others. They say, I can't afford that. I'm not good at this. I'll never achieve that. And their subconscious, being obedient, faithful, and without judgment, accepts these statements as commands and begins to create conditions that match them. The man who says, I am poor, becomes poorer. The man who says, I am weak, becomes weaker, not because the words are magic, but because the words are instructions. And the subconscious executes instructions without question. But the reverse is also true. The man who speaks with certainty, with clarity, with conviction, programs his mind for victory. He does not wait to feel confident before he speaks confidently. He speaks confidently and the feeling follows. He does not wait to possess wealth before he speaks as a wealthy man. He speaks as a wealthy man, and wealth begins to find him. This is the law of autosuggestion. This is the mechanics by which faith is built. Faith is not a gift that falls from the sky. Faith is manufactured through repetition, through speaking aloud what you intend to become, through hearing your own voice declare it, through feeling the emotion of it as if it were already real, and through repeating this process daily without fail until the subconscious has no choice but to accept it as truth. Thomas Edison knew this law. He did not succeed because he was the smartest man in the room. He succeeded because he repeated his hypothesis, his belief, his certainty 10,000 times. When others saw failure, he saw data. When others saw proof of impossibility, he saw the narrowing of options. And through every attempt, he spoke the same declaration. The answer exists. I will find it. And he did. Not because he was lucky, but because he obeyed the law of repetition, because his voice commanded his mind, and his mind commanded his actions, and his actions eventually commanded the world. So here is your practice. Here is the ritual that will rewire your mind from the inside out. Every morning, before you speak to another human being, before you check a screen, before you consume the noise of the world, you will stand before a mirror. You will look into your own eyes. You will stand with your spine straight, your shoulders back, your chin level, and you will speak 11 declarations of identity. You will speak them 3 times each. You will speak them with rhythm, with breath, with conviction, and you will do this not because it feels comfortable. You will do it because it is law, because the man who commands his voice commands his mind, and the man who commands his mind commands his world. Here are the 11 lines you will speak. You will not read them like a list. You will embody them. You will breathe between each one. You will feel them in your chest before they leave your mouth. You will say, I speak law. I speak belief. I speak what I am becoming. I am the master of my fate. I command my attention, my speech, my calendar. I do not sell my life for crumbs. My work builds ownership, not dependence. I refuse to work my life away and die poor. I was born to own, not to obey. I do not wait for freedom. I build it now. I walk as if God walks beside me. Fear observes me work and seeds ground. These declarations are not wishes. They are not hopes. They are commands issued to the deepest layer of your being. And when you speak them with regularity, with breath, with posture, with eye contact to your own reflection, something shifts. The doubt begins to dissolve. The hesitation begins to retreat. The clarity begins to rise, not because you have convinced yourself of a lie, but because you have aligned your conscious mind with your subconscious mind. And when those two forces move in the same direction, there is no obstacle they cannot overcome. Now, I know what you are thinking. You are thinking this sounds too simple. You are thinking that words alone cannot change reality, and you are half right. Words alone, spoken without belief, without emotion, without action, are empty. But words spoken with conviction, backed by decision, followed by movement, are the most powerful force in the human experience. Because words shape thought, thought shapes belief, belief shapes action, and action shapes the world. This is not theory. This is the sequence by which every great achievement has ever been built. The Wright brothers did not stumble into flight. They spoke it first. They believed it second. They acted on it third. And the world, having no defense against such alignment, yielded. So, do not dismiss the power of your voice. Do not underestimate the ritual of the mirror, because the man who will not speak his own identity aloud is a man who does not yet believe in it. And the man who does not believe in it will never become it. But there is more. There is a fourth law that few men ever discover because it requires something the world teaches you to avoid. It requires silence, not the silence of inaction, not the silence of fear, but the silence of listening, the silence of tuning out the noise so you can hear the direction, the silence in which clarity is born and wisdom is received. Most men live in constant noise. They wake to alarms. They consume screens. They fill every gap with sound, with distraction, with the opinions of others. And because they never stop, they never hear. They never hear the quiet voice within them that knows the next step. They never feel the pull toward the thing they were made to do. They never sense the warning that tells them to stop, to pivot, to redirect. And so they wander, they drift, they follow the crowd, and they wonder why their lives feel empty even when their schedules are full. But the man who practices silence daily, who carves out 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes to sit in stillness and ask one question, that man begins to access a power that effort alone can never generate. The question is simple. What is the next step of obedience? Not what do I want, not what would feel good, not what would impress others. What is the next step of obedience to the vision I have declared? And in the silence the answer comes. Sometimes it is a word, sometimes it is an image. Sometimes it is simply a knowing, a pull, a sense of direction, and the man who has trained himself to listen acts on it immediately. Not tomorrow, not when it is convenient, immediately. Within 15 minutes of receiving the instruction, he moves. And in that movement, faith becomes operational. Faith is not passive belief. Faith is active obedience. It is hearing the instruction and executing it before doubt has time to argue. Let me tell you the story of Solomon. He was young. He was unproven. He had inherited a kingdom, but not the wisdom to rule it. And so he did what most men do not have the courage to do. He asked, not for gold, not for power, not for long life. He asked for understanding. He asked for the ability to discern between good and evil, between truth and deception, between what serves and what destroys. And because he asked for understanding, because he sought wisdom above comfort, the wealth followed, the gold followed, the influence followed, not because wealth was the goal, but because wisdom creates the conditions in which wealth must appear. The man who understands value can create it. The man who discerns opportunity can seize it. The man who governs himself can govern others. And so I say to you, do not chase riches, chase understanding, sow wisdom, and you will reap gold. Command by clarity and resources will follow. Here is the practice for this law. Every morning, after you speak your 11 declarations in the mirror, you will sit in silence for 5 minutes. You will not check your phone. You will not plan your day. You will not think about your problems. You will simply breathe. You will inhale for 4 counts. You will hold for 4 counts. You will exhale for 6 counts. And in that rhythm, you will ask the question, what is the next step of obedience? And you will listen, not with your ears, but with your inner sense. And when the answer comes, Even if it feels small, even if it feels insignificant, you will act on it within 15 minutes. You will not debate. You will not delay. You will move. And in that movement, you will begin to build a relationship with the part of yourself that knows, the part that is not confused, the part that does not need permission, the part that is connected to the source of all true power. Some call it intuition. Some call it the still small voice. Some call it God. The name does not matter. What matters is that you listen, and what matters more is that you obey. Now speak this aloud with me. I command by understanding. I sow wisdom and reap gold. I act on inner instruction within 15 minutes. I do not debate with clarity. I execute. This is the declaration of the man who governs himself. And the man who governs himself is the only man fit to govern anything else. But even with purpose, decision, voice, and silence, there is still one more law that must be obeyed if you would walk as if God walks beside you, and that is the law of rhythm, the law of habit, the law of disciplined repetition, because clarity fades if it is not reinforced. Decision weakens if it is not supported by structure, and the voice that commands in the morning can be drowned out by noon if you do not guard your day with intentional rhythm. Fear does not break because you defeated it once. Fear breaks because you build a fortress of habit so strong that fear cannot find a way in. The man who wakes at the same time every day, who speaks the same declarations every morning, who executes the same ritual every evening, is a man whose subconscious begins to expect victory. His nervous system begins to calm. His mind begins to trust that he will do what he said he would do. And trust, internal trust, is the bedrock of confidence. You cannot feel confident if you do not trust yourself. And you cannot trust yourself if you break your own word daily. Every time you say you will wake at 5:30 and you sleep until 7, you teach yourself that your word means nothing. Every time you say you will execute 3 tasks and you drift into distraction, you train yourself to disbelieve your own declarations. And a man who does not trust his own word cannot walk with authority. He cannot act as if. He cannot command, because deep down he knows he will not follow through. But the man who keeps his word to himself, who does what he said he would do even when he does not feel like it, especially when he does not feel like it, begins to build an inner power that no external force can shake. He becomes unshakable not because nothing troubles him, but because he has learned that his actions do not depend on his emotions. He acts because it is the hour to act. He speaks because it is the time to speak. He builds because it is the day to build. And over time, this rhythm becomes automatic. It becomes who he is. And fear, sensing this, has no leverage, because the man of rhythm does not negotiate. He simply does. Let me show you an example. John D. Rockefeller was a man who lived by rhythm. He did not wake when he felt rested. He woke at the same time every day. He did not make decisions based on emotion. He made them based on principle. He tracked every dollar. He reviewed every report. He held every meeting at the scheduled time. And when panic swept through the markets, when other men sold in fear, when chaos reigned, Rockefeller remained calm, not because he was fearless, but because his rhythm was stronger than his fear. His habits were the rails on which his life ran, and those rails kept him steady when the world shook. Discipline, not emotion, governs the successful man. And discipline is nothing more than doing what you said you would do at the time you said you would do it, regardless of how you feel. So here is the structure you will build. Here is the rhythm that will guard you. You will divide your day into blocks. 50 minutes of focused execution, 10 minutes of rest, 3 cycles in the morning, 2 cycles in the afternoon, no multitasking, no distraction, 1 task, 1 aim, 1 block. And at the end of each block, you mark it complete. You do not move to the next task until the time is up. You train your mind to finish. You train your body to obey the clock. And over time, this rhythm becomes your shield. Because the man who cannot control his attention cannot control his life. And the man who cannot finish a 50-minute block will never finish a 50-year vision. Start small, master the hour, then master the day, then master the week. And before long, you will look back and realize you have built something that runs without you, something that generates while you sleep, something that serves others and rewards you. This is ownership. And ownership is the only true freedom. Now, let me address the voice that is rising in your mind even now. The voice that says, I don't have time for rituals. I don't have space for silence. I am too busy. I have responsibilities. I have obligations. Let me be clear. That voice is not reason. That voice is fear, wearing the mask of responsibility. Because the man who says he does not have time for the practices that create clarity is the same man who wastes hours every day on distraction, on reaction, on the demands of others. He is not too busy. He is simply undisciplined. And because he is undisciplined, he is owned. He is owned by his calendar. He is owned by his inbox. He is owned by the expectations of people who do not care about his vision. And he will remain owned until he decides that his own life is worth fighting for. Until he decides that 15 minutes in silence is more valuable than 15 minutes scrolling. Until he decides that 7 minutes at the mirror is more important than 7 minutes reading the news. Until he makes that decision, he will continue to serve other men's agendas, and he will die, having never built his own. So let me ask you again, do you have time? Or have you simply chosen to spend your time on things that do not serve your definite chief aim? Because time is the one resource you can never recover. You can lose money and make it back. You can lose reputation and rebuild it. But you cannot lose time and reclaim it. Every minute you waste is a minute you will never see again. And the man who treats his minutes carelessly is a man who treats his life carelessly. So guard your time. Measure it, block it, protect it as you would protect treasure, because it is treasure. It is the currency of your existence, and the way you spend it is the way you spend your life. Here is another objection I hear often. I don't feel like doing the ritual. I don't feel motivated. I don't feel inspired. And my response is this: feelings follow action. They do not precede it. The man who waits to feel motivated before he acts will wait forever. Because motivation is not a cause, it is an effect. You do not feel strong and then lift the weight. You lift the weight and then you feel strong. You do not feel confident and then you speak. You speak and then you feel confident. You do not feel courageous and then you act. You act and courage rises to meet you. This is the sequence. This is the law. And the man who understands this law stops waiting for permission from his emotions. He acts because it is time to act, and his emotions, being obedient, eventually align. So when you do not feel like standing at the mirror, stand anyway. When you do not feel like speaking the declarations, speak them anyway. When you do not feel like sitting in silence, sit anyway. Because every time you act in defiance of your feelings, you train your feelings to follow your will. And over time, your will becomes supreme. You become the master, and your emotions, once tyrants, become servants. This is freedom, not the absence of feeling, but the authority over feeling. The man who is ruled by emotion is a slave. The man who rules his emotion is a king. And the difference between the two is simply this: one waits to feel before he acts. The other acts and teaches his feelings to follow. Now let me speak to a deeper fear, the fear of being misunderstood, the fear of looking foolish, the fear that if you speak your vision aloud, if you act as if it is already done, others will mock you, others will doubt you, others will call you arrogant, delusional, prideful. And let me tell you plainly, they will. They will mock what they do not understand. They will criticize what they are too afraid to attempt. They will call you arrogant because your certainty exposes their doubt. But here is the truth they will never tell you. Their opinion does not matter. Not because they are worthless, but because they are not walking your path. They are not carrying your vision. They are not accountable for your results. You are. And if you allow their voices to drown out the voice within you, if you shrink to make them comfortable, if you lower your declarations to match their expectations, you will spend your entire life building monuments to their mediocrity. And when you die, they will not remember you. They will not honor you. They will simply move on to the next person to criticize. So walk alone if you must. Speak your vision in private if the world is not ready. But speak it, feel it, live it, build it, and let the results be your vindication. Because the world does not cheer the man at the start, it doubts him, it resists him, it mocks him. But if he persists, if he refuses to shrink, if he continues to act as if nothing is impossible, the world will eventually bow. Not because it wants to, but because it has no choice. Because success, real success, is undeniable, and the man who achieves it does not need to defend himself. His work speaks, his results speak, his life speaks, and those who mocked him at the beginning will claim they always believed in him at the end. But you will know the truth. You will know that you walked through the fire alone, and that knowledge will make you unshakable. Now affirm this with me. I walk in power. I walk in clarity. I walk through fear and leave it behind me. I do not shrink. I do not stall. I am immune to criticism because I am acting under a definite chief aim. And the man who acts under a definite chief aim does not need the approval of those who have none. He moves, he builds, he commands. And the world, sensing his certainty, makes room. But there is still one law we must address. One principle that separates the man who labors his entire life from the man who builds something that works without him, and that is the law of value and ownership. Most men trade time for money. They sell their hours to another man's vision, and at the end of the month they have a paycheck, but they do not have ownership. They do not have equity. They do not have anything that generates while they sleep. And so they must wake every morning and sell more hours, and the cycle continues until their body breaks or their spirit dies. This is not freedom. This is servitude dressed in a salary. And the man who does not understand the difference will work until death and leave nothing behind. But there is another way. There is the way of the builder, the way of the man who creates value that serves others and claims ownership of what he creates. He does not merely work. He builds systems. He builds processes. He builds tools, templates, guides, frameworks, anything that solves a problem for another human being and can be delivered again and again without requiring his presence every time. This is leverage. This is multiplication. This is how a man transforms hours into assets. And assets, once built, work for you. They generate while you sleep. They serve while you rest. They compound while you focus on the next creation. This is the path to ownership, and ownership is the only true escape from the hourly creation trap. Let me tell you about Charles M. Schwab. He did not rise to become one of the wealthiest men of his generation by selling his time. He rose by delivering value at a level that could not be ignored. He started as a laborer. He drove stakes. He carried materials. But he did not think like a laborer. He thought like a leader. He studied the men around him. He learned the systems. He saw inefficiencies and he solved them without being asked. He delivered more value in one day than most men delivered in a week. And Andrew Carnegie, watching him, recognized something rare. He recognized a man who understood that the reward does not go to the one who simply shows up. It goes to the one who creates value so undeniable that the world must pay attention. And so Schwab rose, not because he worked harder, but because he worked with vision. He worked with the aim of ownership, and eventually he commanded an empire of steel, not because he begged for the position, but because his value demanded it. So here is the question you must ask yourself. What value am I creating that serves others and builds equity for me? Not what am I doing for a paycheck, not what tasks am I completing, but what am I building that will outlive this week? What system am I creating that someone else can use even when I am not there? What problem am I solving that is worth solving again and again? Because if you cannot answer that question, you are still trading time for money. and time is the one resource you will never get back. But if you can answer it, if you can point to one thing, one small system, one template, one guide, one process that you built and someone else used and it worked, then you have begun the journey toward ownership. And ownership, once tasted, is a hunger you will never lose. Here is the practice. Every week, you will create one microsystem, one small asset that converts your time into something reusable. It does not need to be complex. It does not need to be perfect. It needs to be useful. A checklist that saves someone 10 minutes, a script that solves a recurring problem, a template that structures a chaotic process, a video that teaches one skill, a spreadsheet that tracks one metric, anything that takes what you know and makes it transferable. And then you will give it to one real person, not to the void, not to the internet at large, to one human being who needs it. And you will ask them one question: did this help? And if the answer is yes, you have created value. And value created is the seed of wealth. Do this once, then do it again, then do it again, and within 90 days you will have 12 assets in the world, 12 things working for you, 12 proofs that you are not just a worker, you are a builder. And builders own their lives. Now let me share with you a story. A man I will call Marcus came to me 3 years ago. He was 42. He worked 60 hours a week, managing logistics for a company that did not know his name. He was tired. He was angry. He was certain that the system was rigged against him. And I asked him one question: what are you building that is yours? And he stared at me. He had no answer, because he had spent 20 years building someone else's dream and nothing of his own. And so I gave him the same instruction I am giving you. Build one microsystem every week, something small, something useful, something you can point to and say, I made that. And he resisted. He said he did not have time. He said he did not have ideas. He said he did not know where to start. And I told him, start with what you already know. You manage logistics. You solve problems every day. Write down one solution. Turn it into a checklist. Give it to one person who struggles with the same problem, and see what happens. He did. He created a simple process map for tracking shipments across multiple carriers. It was 3 pages. It was not elegant, but it worked. And he gave it to a colleague who had been drowning in missed deadlines. And the colleague used it, and it saved him hours. And Marcus felt something he had not felt in years. He felt useful, not because someone paid him, but because he had created something that served. And that feeling was the spark. The next week he built another, a template for vendor communication, then another, a script for handling customer complaints. And within 30 days, people were asking him for his tools. Within 60 days, he had packaged them into a simple guide and sold it to 3 small businesses for $200 each. Within 90 days, he had a side income that equaled 20% of his salary. And more importantly, he had proof. Proof that he was not trapped. Proof that he could build. Proof that ownership was possible. Today, Marcus no longer works 60 hours for another man's vision. He works 40 hours on his own systems, and those systems generate more than his old salary ever did, not because he got lucky, but because he obeyed the law. Value created with intention and delivered with consistency generates ownership, and ownership generates freedom. So what will you build this week? What one thing will you create that serves another human being and proves to yourself that you are capable of more than hourly labor? Do not wait for permission. Do not wait for perfect conditions. Do not wait until you feel ready. Decide now, write it down, and execute it before the week ends. Because every week you delay is a week you remain a worker instead of a builder. And the gap between the two is not talent. It is not luck. It is decision followed by action. That is all. Decide. Act, deliver, repeat, and within 90 days, your life will not look the same. Not because the world changed, but because you did. But even value, even systems, even ownership, There is still one more force that multiplies everything, and that is the force of alliance, of partnership, of what I call the mastermind. No man builds an empire alone. No man achieves greatness in isolation. The most powerful fortunes, the most enduring legacies, the most impossible victories were all built by men and women who understood that two minds aligned in harmony generate a third mind, a greater mind, a mind capable of solutions that neither could conceive alone. This is not cooperation for the sake of feeling good. This is strategic alliance. This is the multiplication of capacity. And the man who surrounds himself with others who believe, who challenge, who hold him accountable, who refuse to let him drift, is a man who moves faster, sees further, and builds stronger than he ever could on his own. Andrew Carnegie understood this law better than perhaps any man of his time. He did not claim to be the smartest man in his organization. He claimed to be the best at gathering smart men and uniting them toward a common aim. He built a mastermind alliance of engineers, financiers, operators, strategists, and he met with them regularly. And in those meetings, ideas were tested, plans were refined, obstacles were dismantled, and the collective intelligence of that group generated solutions that no single man, no matter how brilliant, could have produced. Carnegie did not need to know everything. He needed to surround himself with those who knew what he did not, and together they built an empire of steel that dominated an era. That is the power of the mastermind. It is not about having friends, it is about having allies who share your vision, match your intensity, and refuse to accept anything less than excellence. So here is your instruction. You will form a mastermind alliance of at least two people, not casual acquaintances, not drinking buddies. Not people who nod and agree with everything you say, but people who are building something, people who have a definite chief aim, people who will tell you the truth, even when it stings, and you will meet with them once every week, same day, same time, and in that meeting, you will do three things. 1, you will each state your definite chief aim aloud and report on your progress toward it. 2, you will each share one obstacle you are facing, and the group will offer solutions, resources, or accountability. 3, you will each commit to one action you will complete before the next meeting, and then you will hold each other to it. No excuses, no drifting, no vague promises, just clear commitments and honest accountability. Because the man who does not have others watching his progress will drift. The man who does not have others challenging his thinking will stagnate, and the man who does not have others celebrating his wins will lose the fuel to continue. But the man who gathers the right allies and meets with them in disciplined rhythm will find that his capacity doubles, his clarity sharpens, his courage multiplies, and his results compound. Now let me tell you what this looks like in practice. I will tell you about a woman I will call Elena. She was 29. She had a vision to build a consultancy helping small businesses systemize their operations, but she was paralyzed. She did not know where to start. She did not have clients. She did not have confidence. And she was surrounded by people who told her to play it safe, to keep her job, to wait until she had more experience. And so she waited, and the waiting was killing her. And then she made one decision. She reached out to two other women who were also building businesses. One was a designer, one was a copywriter. None of them were in the same industry, but all of them had the same hunger. And they agreed to meet every Tuesday morning at 7 for 1 hour. And in that hour, they did exactly what I just described. They stated their aims, they shared their obstacles, they committed to actions, and they held each other accountable. The first month, Elena landed her first client, not because she suddenly became smarter, but because the designer introduced her to someone who needed her, help. The second month, she refined her offer, not because she figured it out alone, but because the copywriter asked her hard questions that forced her to clarify. The third month, she doubled her rates, not because she felt confident, but because the group told her she was undercharging, and they refused to let her shrink. Within 6 months, Elena had left her job. Within 12 months, she had 8 clients and a waiting list. And today, 3 years later, she runs a consultancy that generates 6 figures annually. And she will tell you without hesitation that she did not do it alone. She did it because she surrounded herself with the right people at the right time, and they refused to let her quit. So ask yourself now, who are you walking with? Who is in your corner? Who is challenging you to rise? And if the answer is no one, then your next action is clear. Find them. Reach out. Be honest about what you are building and what you need. And form the alliance, because the man who tries to build alone will build slower, smaller, and with far more pain than necessary. But the man who builds with the right allies will find that the impossible becomes inevitable, not because the work gets easier, but because the capacity multiplies. And when capacity multiplies, so does the outcome. Now I must address one more fear that rises in the hearts of many who hear these laws: the fear that it is too late. The fear that they are too old, too stuck, too far behind. The fear that they missed their window and now the door is closed. And I say to you with absolute certainty, that is a lie. It is a lie whispered by fear to keep you from starting. Because the truth is this: it is never too late to decide. It is never too late to change your mind. It is never too late to declare a new identity and begin to act as if it is already true. The man who is 50 can build more in 5 years than the man who is 25 will build in 10 if the 50-year-old has clarity and the 25-year-old has none. Age is not the barrier. Indecision is. Drift is. The refusal to define a purpose and commit to it, that is the barrier. And that barrier exists at 20 and at 40 and at 60. But the man who decides today, right now, that he will no longer drift, that he will no longer wait, that he will define his aim and act as if it is already done, that man has already begun to win, that he will know treachery, because the battle is not out there. The battle is in here, in the mind, in the will, in the decision to stop negotiating with fear and start obeying law. Let me tell you about a man I knew. I will call him Samuel. He was 61 when he came to me. He had spent 40 years in corporate management. He had saved diligently. He had followed every rule, and he had nothing to show for it but a pension too small to live on and a body too tired to enjoy what remained. He was bitter. He was defeated. He believed his life was over. And I asked him one question: if you had 5 more years of energy, what would you build? And he paused, and then he said, I always wanted to teach men how to lead, how to manage conflict, how to build loyalty. I spent 4 decades doing it for companies that never appreciated it. But I know it. I know it better than anyone. And I said, then teach it. And he said, who would listen to a 61-year-old man with no credentials, no platform, no audience? And I said, one person, start with one, build one workshop, deliver it to one company, ask for feedback, refine it, deliver it again, build value, prove it works, and then build the next. He did. He created a 2-day leadership intensive. He reached out to one small business owner he knew and offered it for free in exchange for testimonials. The owner agreed. Samuel delivered, and it was powerful. The owner paid him anyway and referred him to 2 others. Within 6 months, Samuel had delivered the workshop 12 times. Within 12 months, he had a waiting list. Within 18 months, he was generating more income than his pension ever provided. And he told me, I wasted 40 years building someone else's dream, but I am not wasting what remains. I am building mine. And he did. Until the day he died at 73, he was teaching, he was building, he was serving, and he was free. So do not tell me it is too late. Do not tell me you are too old. Do not tell me you missed your chance, because the only thing you have missed is the time you spent believing that lie. But today, right now, this moment, you can decide differently. You can write your definite chief aim. You can burn a bridge. You can speak your identity aloud. You can sit in silence and ask for direction. You can build one microsystem this week. You can form a mastermind alliance. You can start. And starting is the only thing that matters. because the man who starts today with clarity will overtake the man who started years ago with confusion. Speed is not the advantage, direction is. And direction begins with decision. Now let us bring all of this into form. Let us take the laws and make them operational. Because theory without practice is philosophy, and philosophy without action is entertainment. What I am about to give you is not entertainment. It is architecture. It is the ritual by which you dismantle fear daily and build authority in its place. It is the structure that will govern your mornings, guide your days, and measure your progress. And it begins before the world wakes. It begins in the hour when most men are still servants to their comfort. It begins at 5:30 in the morning. I know what you are thinking. You are thinking that 5:30 is too early. You are thinking that you are not a morning person. You are thinking that you need more sleep, more time, more preparation before you can begin. And I am telling you plainly that those thoughts are the voice of the old you, the you who drifted, the you who waited, the you who let the day happen to him instead of commanding it. But the new you, the you who walks as if God walks beside you, the you who acts as if fear has no claim, that version of you does not negotiate with comfort. He rises before the world speaks. He takes the first hour of the day and he uses it to set the frequency for everything that follows. Because the man who loses the morning loses the day, and the man who loses enough days loses his life. So here is what you will do. You will set one alarm, not 3, not 5, with snooze intervals, 1. And you will place it across the room so that you must stand to silence it. And when it sounds, you will not debate. You will not negotiate. You will not lie back down and promise yourself 5 more minutes. You will stand. You will move. You will walk to the place you have prepared the night before, a place with a mirror, a place with silence, a place where you can speak without being heard by others if you live with people who do not yet understand what you are building. And in that place, you will begin the ritual that rewires your mind. First, you will breathe, not the shallow breathing of sleep, not the anxious breathing of stress, but deep, deliberate, rhythmic breathing. You will stand with your feet shoulder width apart. You will straighten your spine, you will roll your shoulders back, you will lift your chin, and you will close your eyes, and you will inhale through your nose for 4 counts. You will feel your lungs expand, you will feel your chest rise, you will feel the oxygen flood your bloodstream, and then you will hold that breath for 4 counts, not straining, not forcing, just holding, just being still. And then you will exhale through your mouth for 6 counts, slowly, steadily, emptying completely. And you will repeat this cycle 3 times. And with each cycle, you will feel your nervous system begin to calm. You will feel the fog of sleep begin to lift. You will feel your mind sharpen. This is not wasted time. This is preparation. This is the tuning of your instrument before you play the song. After the 3rd breath, you will open your eyes, and you will look at yourself in the mirror, not with judgment, not with criticism, but with clarity. You will look into your own eyes as you would look into the eyes of a man you are about to lead into battle, a man you trust, a man you respect, a man you know will not break. And you will speak, not in your head, not in a whisper, but aloud, with volume, with conviction, with the voice of a man who has decided, and you will say the first line, I speak law, I speak belief. I speak what I am becoming. You will say it once, and you will let it land. You will feel it in your chest, and then you will say it again, and you will feel it sink deeper, and then you will say it a 3rd time. And by the 3rd repetition, something will shift. The words will no longer feel foreign. They will begin to feel true, and that is the point. Because truth is not discovered, truth is declared, and what you declare with emotion and repetition becomes the truth your subconscious obeys. Then you will move to the 2nd line. I am the master of my fate, 3 times, with breath between each repetition, with eye contact that does not waver, with a tone that does not apologize. Then the third line, I command my attention, my speech, my calendar, 3 times, feeling the weight of each word, knowing that to command your attention is to command your life, because where your attention goes, your energy flows. And where your energy flows, your results appear. Then the fourth line, I do not sell my life for crumbs. My work builds ownership, not dependence. 3 times. And as you speak this, you will see in your mind the systems you are building, the assets you are creating, the value you are delivering, and you will know that you are not a worker, you are a builder. Then, the fifth line, I refuse to work my life away and die poor. I was born to own, not to obey. 3 times. And you will feel something ancient rise in you, something that refuses to kneel, something that knows you were not made to serve fear. You were made to command it. Then, the sixth line, I do not wait for freedom. I build it now. 3 times. And with each repetition, you will see yourself taking action today, not tomorrow, not when conditions improve. Today, because the man who builds freedom does not wait for permission. He acts. Then the seventh line, I walk as if God walks beside me. 3 times. And as you speak this, you will stand taller. You will breathe deeper. You will feel the weight of that presence, not as a metaphor, but as a reality, because the man who walks with that awareness cannot be shaken by the opinions of smaller men. Then the eighth line, fear observes me work and seeds ground. 3 times. And you will see in your mind fear as a shadow that retreats when you step forward, not because fear is gone, but because you are moving and fear cannot hold its position against momentum. Then the ninth line, I speak what I intend and I act without hesitation. 3 times, knowing that speed is the ally of the bold and delay is the ally of fear. Then the 10th line, I sow understanding and I reap wealth. I command by clarity. 3 times, seeing yourself as the man who does not chase money but creates the conditions in which money must appear. And finally, the 11th line, I govern myself with discipline. My rhythm is my shield. 3 times, knowing that the man who cannot govern himself cannot govern anything else. When you have spoken all 11 lines 3 times each, you will stand in silence for 30 seconds. You will not move. You will not check the time. You will simply stand and breathe and let the declarations settle into the depths of your being. And in that silence, you will feel something you have not felt in years. You will feel powerful, not because you have accomplished anything yet, but because you have commanded yourself. And the man who can command himself in the morning can command his entire day. This ritual, from the first breath to the final silence, will take 7 minutes. 7 minutes. And those 7 minutes will set the tone for everything that follows, because the subconscious does not distinguish between rehearsal and reality. When you speak those lines with emotion, with posture, with breath, your subconscious accepts them as fact. And once accepted as fact, it begins to align your thoughts, your actions, your perceptions, everything, toward making them true in the material world. This is not magic. This is mechanics. This is how belief is installed. This is how identity is forged. This is how the man who acts as if becomes the man who is. But the ritual does not end at the mirror. After you speak the 11 lines, you will sit, you will take a notebook, and you will write one sentence, your definite chief aim, not in the past tense, not in the future tense, in the present tense, as if it is already done. I am a man who commands wealth through wisdom and service. I am a builder of systems that generate freedom. I am a leader who serves with value and claims ownership. Whatever your aim is, you will write it. One sentence, clear, definite, timed if possible, and you will read it aloud, once in the morning, once at night before you sleep. And you will do this every single day without fail, because repetition is the pathway by which vague wishes become definite beliefs, and definite beliefs become undeniable results. After you write and speak your definite chief aim, You will write 3 goals for the day, not 10. Not a list of tasks that would take a week to complete. 3. 1 goal of production. One thing you will create or deliver that moves your definite chief aim forward. 1 goal of learning. One thing you will study, practice, or master that increases your capacity. And 1 goal of value. One thing you will give to another human being that serves them and proves your worth. These 3 goals are not wishes, they are commitments, and you will not end the day until all 3 are complete, not perfect, complete, because the man who finishes builds momentum, and the man who drifts loses it, and momentum, once lost, is expensive to rebuild. So guard your commitments, write them, speak them, execute them, and mark them complete before you sleep. Now, with the morning ritual complete, you enter the work. You enter the blocks of execution. 50 minutes of focused work on one task, then 10 minutes of rest. Not rest on a screen, not rest scrolling. Rest with your eyes closed, or rest walking, or rest in silence. Then 50 minutes again, then 10 minutes. You will complete 3 cycles in the morning. 3 cycles of deep, undistracted, single-focus work. And in those cycles, you will accomplish more than most men accomplish in a full day, because most men work in distraction. They work with one eye on the task and one eye on the notification. They work while their mind is scattered across 12 open tabs, and so their work is weak, it is diluted, it is half done. But you will not work that way. You will close everything that is not the one thing. You will silence every notification. You will put your phone in another room. And you will work as if the outcome of your life depends on this one block, because it does. Every block is a brick, and every brick builds the structure of your future. Treat it with reverence, guard it with discipline, and execute it with precision. At noon, you will pause. You will take 3 minutes, and you will ask yourself one question. What action will advance my definite chief aim most in the next 4 hours? Not what feels comfortable, not what is easy, not what you have always done, but what will move the aim. And whatever the answer is, you will adjust your plan and you will execute it. This is the midday alignment. This is the course correction. Because even the best plan drifts if it is not measured. So measure, adjust, execute. Then, in the afternoon, you will complete 2 more cycles of 50 and 10, 2 more blocks of focused execution. And by the time the sun begins to set, you will have completed 5 blocks, 5 hours of deep work. And 5 hours of deep work executed with focus will produce more results than 12 hours of shallow work executed in distraction. This is the law of concentration, and the man who obeys it will rise while others plateau. At 6 in the evening, you will take another 3 minutes. You will review your 3 goals for the day. You will ask, did I produce? Did I learn? Did I serve? And you will mark each one. If all 3 are complete, you will acknowledge it. You will say aloud, I kept my word to myself today. And that acknowledgement will strengthen your internal trust. But if 1 or more is incomplete, you will not make excuses. You will not justify. You will simply note it. You will ask, what prevented completion? And you will adjust tomorrow's plan to guard against the same drift. This is not punishment. This is feedback. This is how you learn. This is how you grow. The man who cannot face his own incomplete goals is a man who cannot grow. But the man who faces them, learns from them, and adjusts, that man becomes unstoppable. Then, at 9 in the evening, you will conduct the final audit. You will take 6 minutes. You will open your notebook, and you will answer 3 questions. What percentage of my plan did I execute today? What was my level of focus on a scale of 0 to 10? And what is one lesson I learned today that I will apply tomorrow? You will write the answers, not type them. Write them. Because writing engages the mind in a way that typing does not. Writing forces clarity. Writing forces honesty. And honesty is the foundation of growth. After you write, You will read your definite chief aim one final time. You will close your eyes, and you will see yourself as the man who has already achieved it. You will see where you live. You will see what you wear. You will see how you move. You will see who walks beside you, and you will feel the emotion of that reality as if it is happening now. And then you will open your eyes. You will close the notebook, and you will rest. Because rest is not laziness. Rest is recovery. And the man who does not rest burns out. But the man who rests after a day of disciplined execution wakes stronger. This is the daily rhythm. This is the structure that guards you from drift. Breath and posture at 5:30. 11 lines at the mirror. Definite chief aim written and spoken. 3 goals defined. 5 blocks of 50 and 10. Midday alignment at noon. Evening review at 6. Final audit at 9. And rest every day, without exception, without negotiation. Because rhythm is not a suggestion. Rhythm is law. And the man who obeys the law of rhythm builds a fortress that fear cannot penetrate. But this is not just a daily rhythm. This is a cycle that extends beyond the day. This is the 30, 60, 90-day transformation. And each phase has a focus. Each phase has a metric. Each phase has a proof that you are not drifting. You are building. In the first 30 days, your only goal is adherence. You are building the habit. You are training your nervous system to trust that you will do what you said you would do. Your metric is simple. What percentage of days did you complete the morning ritual? What percentage of days did you execute all 3 goals? Your target is 80% or higher, not perfection, consistency. Because the man who completes 80% of his commitments for 30 days has built more than a habit. He has built identity. He has become the man who keeps his word. And that identity is the foundation of everything else. During these 30 days, you will also name your fear. Every day you will write one sentence. Today I am afraid of this. And you will name it. Fear of failure. Fear of judgment. Fear of wasting time. Fear of being wrong. Whatever it is, you will name it. And then you will act anyway. You will do the thing you are afraid of, not because the fear is gone, but because you have decided that fear does not get a vote. And every time you act in defiance of fear, fear loses power and you gain it. In the second 30 days, days 31 through 60, your focus shifts. You are no longer just building the habit. You are building assets. Your metric is this. How many microsystems have you created? How many templates, guides, scripts, processes, tools have you built and delivered to real people? Your target is 8 to 12, 1 to 2 per week. These do not need to be complex. They need to be useful. They need to solve a problem. They need to serve. And every time you deliver one and someone uses it and it works, you have created value. And value created is the seed of ownership. During these 60 days, you will also form your mastermind alliance. You will identify 2 people who are building something. You will reach out. You will propose a weekly meeting, and you will begin. And in those meetings, you will speak your aim. You will share your obstacles. You will commit to actions, and you will hold each other accountable. Because the man who builds alone builds slower. But the man who builds with the right allies builds faster, stronger, and with far more joy. In the third 30 days, days 61 through 90, your focus shifts again. You are no longer just building habits and assets. You are building a system that operates. Your metric is this. Do you have one project, one product, one service, one process that generates results without requiring your presence every single time? It does not need to be perfect. It does not need to be scaled. It needs to work. It needs to serve. And it needs to have a measurable outcome. Revenue is ideal, but impact is also valid. How many people used it? How many problems did it solve? How much time did it save? These are the metrics of people. Ownership. And by day 90, you will have proof that you are not just a worker, proof that you are a builder, proof that freedom is not a fantasy, it is a process, and you are in the process. Now let us close. Let us bring every law, every practice, every truth into one final declaration. You have heard the 6 movements, purpose defined, decision that burns bridges, voice that commands the subconscious, silence that sharpens clarity, rhythm that builds the fortress, and value that creates ownership. These are not steps, these are laws. And the man who obeys them does not hope for transformation. He commands it. He does not wish for freedom. He builds it. He does not wait for courage. He manufactures it through action repeated until it becomes identity. But understanding is not enough. Knowledge without execution is entertainment. And you are not here to be entertained. You are here to be awakened. You are here to walk out of this moment as a different man than the one who walked in. And that transformation begins not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready. It begins in the next 24 hours. It begins with one decision followed by one action that proves to yourself that you are no longer the man who waits. You are the man who moves. So here is my final charge to you. Here is the oath you will take not to me but to yourself, and you will speak it aloud after you hear it. You will speak it with your hand on your chest. You will speak it standing. And you will mean every word. I do not wait for freedom. I build it now. I do not beg for courage. I act and courage follows. I do not ask fear for permission. I issue the command and fear obeys. I walk as if God walks beside me. I speak as if my word is law. I move as if the outcome is certain. I am not a worker. I am a builder. I am not a servant. I am a commander. I do not trade my life for crumbs. I create value and I claim ownership. I do not drift. I execute. I do not hope. I decide. I do not wait. I begin. This is my oath. This is my law. This is who I am. And nothing, not fear, not doubt, not delay, will turn me aside. Speak that aloud now. Let your voice fill the room. Let your subconscious hear the command, and then act. Here is your order for the next 24 hours. Before this day ends, you will complete 4 actions. First, you will write your definite chief aim in one sentence. You will write it by hand. You will speak it aloud 3 times. Second, you will identify one option that keeps you comfortable, one bridge that leads nowhere, and you will burn it. You will cancel it, decline it, or eliminate it. Third, you will stand before a mirror, and you will speak the 11 declarations. You will speak them with posture, with breath, with conviction. You do not need to speak them 3 times each on the first day. Speak them once each, but speak them aloud. Let your voice command your mind. And fourth, you will create one simple asset, and you will give it to one real person before 9 o'clock tonight. A checklist, a template, a script, a piece of advice written down, anything that serves another human being and proves that you are capable of creating value. 4 actions, 24 hours, no negotiation, no delay. Execute, and when you complete those 4 actions, you will feel something shift. You will feel the weight of the old identity begin to crack. You will feel the momentum of the new identity begin to rise. And tomorrow morning, you will wake at 5:30. You will stand. You will breathe. You will speak. And you will begin the rhythm that will carry you through the next 90 days and beyond. You will not do this perfectly. You will stumble. You will miss days. You will face doubt. But you will not quit. Because the man who acts as if God walks beside him does not quit when the path is hard. He adjusts. He learns. He continues. And over time, the acting becomes the being. The rehearsal becomes the reality. And the man who once feared, his own shadow begins to cast a shadow so large that others walk in it for shelter. This is not the end. This is the beginning. The laws have been given. The ritual has been built. The order has been issued. Now you must walk. Walk with purpose. Walk with decision. Walk with voice. Walk with rhythm. Walk with value. Walk as if nothing is impossible. Walk as if fear has no claim. Walk as if God Himself walks beside you. And when you walk that way, the world will bend, not because it wants to, but because it has no choice. Because the man who believes without retreat and acts without hesitation is a force that no obstacle can withstand. Go now. Write your aim. Burn your bridge. Speak your identity. Deliver your value. The clock is running. The next 24 hours will prove who you are becoming. Make them count. Make them undeniable. Make them the first day of the life you were always meant to command. And let the image that closes this moment be this. Tomorrow morning, before the sun rises, you standing before a mirror, your hand marking an X on a calendar, the 11th day complete. Your voice steady, your eyes clear, your spine straight in fear, watching from the corner, silent, defeated, and small. That is the man you are becoming. That is the life you are building. That is the law you now obey. Begin